Good morning. It's Monday, August 17th. And yesterday I ranted about President Trump trying to steal the election by having his hand-picked lackey, Louis DeJoy, who he appointed Postmaster General, a man with no experience at all in the Postal Service. Anyhow, what the two of them have done, they've started dismantling the post office. They've reduced personnel in several areas, and they're picking up mailboxes from various locations. It's going to make it very difficult for people to vote. That's what I talked about yesterday. Today I want to talk about our system of checks and balances. Yesterday I had this rant completely done. This rant is about checks and balances, and I was convinced that there were no checks yesterday. And I was also convinced that the Congress and the Senate were going to stay home for their whole recess while the world of postal affairs was caving in on us. But it turns out that not only was the post office affected in Donald Trump's mind to help him win the election by slowing down the post office, it turns out that many of his constituents started to bitch and moan because the post office is the way they get their Social Security checks delivered. The post office is the way that they get their stock checks delivered. Their dividends are delivered. Many things, their medicines are delivered from the post office. So now Donald takes his chances and affects the post office with his lackey, and they're going to slow the post office down to nothing, picking up all these mailboxes, driving them away, reducing the staff, and now it's coming down on his head. Now the constituents are angry. And so now Congress, seeing all of this, is taking an action. They are going to have a check, which I did not think was possible. But it turns out the check is going to be this. They're being called into Congress within the next couple of days. They are going to write a bill specifically to fund the post office. They are going to take the post office out of coronavirus package and fund it all by itself as an emergency funding. Because the post office, while it's considered a quasi-agency government agency, is really not a quasi-government agency. It's tied to the government. It's tied to the way this country runs. And that was never considered by Donald Trump and his lackey. He never considered that his constituents, who are elderly and need their medication and need other things and are not online as savvy as the younger population, they're up in arms because the post office is being taken away. So we do have a check. There is a check. And the check came from the people. Because when the people took action, the congressmen recognized the fact that if the people are pissed off about this and we let it slide and we, their representatives, are going to be up for election, that is not going to be good. That is not going to be good. There are senators that are on the fence. And they recognize the fact that this whole thing with the post office has put their election campaigns in jeopardy. So I had finished this thing. I had thrown the checks away. I had said we had no checks. But the people have proved me wrong. And I am glad the people have proved me wrong. And we will have Republicans actually voting for a Democrat this year. There will not be a groundswell against the Democratic Party this year. In fact, if you watch closely today at the Democratic National Convention, you will see that one of the main speakers is a well-known Republican, a man who I happen to think is an honest and good man, John Kasich, who's a Republican and has admitted he is not going to change party. But he is going to speak at the Democratic convention, and he is going to affirm that he believes that Joe Biden should be the president. He's going to come out in support of Joe Biden. And so there I was, thinking that I had a piss poor rant for today because I really didn't like the fact that I was saying that we had no checks. That bothered me considerably. So I'm happy to report to you that we do have a check and we do have a way to get around it. And if they do this bill, I am not sure how this is going to work. But they're going to produce this bill, and Mark Meadows, who's the president's chief of staff, has agreed that this is a good idea. So there's a good chance that this postal money, which is, I guess, being pulled out of the stimulus package, will pass and Donald will sign it. That's the impression I got. So it's a wait and see. It's a wait and see. But I am glad that Congress is coming back to work. I am glad that the senators are coming back to work. And I am glad that they are prepared to put this one-time bill on the table. And I'm glad that somebody woke up and realized that the Postal Service is a necessary service that should not be tied to anything. And they should not be required to make a profit or anything like that because they are not a business. They are a government service. And so I leave you with that thought. Checks are hopefully in place and the post office has been saved. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.